Welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. We're going to talk about a game that we're trying to make. We're going to go into details and we're going to tell you our process and what we're maybe thinking about doing. But this is more of just like our side project. This is something we do after work and on top of this channel and on top of other things. It's just like a list of like things we want to do before we die. It's like,
with that, here we go.
Make a real game. Like I've made some games before. Back in college, I made a Flash game, which isn't the best, but it was my first time ever doing basic coding. And then I messed with Unreal because John was like, Nick, you got to use Unreal. I'm like, okay. And then like I spent a couple days building a game. It was a 2D side scroller.
I had been trying to figure out all this stuff, and he made a side scroll in like 2 days. I'm like, what the heck, man? He was just laughing. He's like, yeah, when I do something, I do it all the way. So
no,
fun stuff.
Sure. When I do something, I do it all the way. It's not that John doesn't do it all the way. I'm just doing that.
He goes full crazy. But yeah, so it was one of these things where there's a lot of really fun games out there. But I like early PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, a lot of the games were meant to be played cooperatively with your friends. You don't get as many cooperative games anymore. You get huge, massively online games and not like a story campaign. And so we thought it would be kind of fun to create something where expert Kyle, Nick, me, and Nathan, or whoever else could hop on and just play something together. And it's a fun excuse to go more. So Nick had dived into Unreal in 2D. I've been diving into Unreal more for sequencer, for like cinematics and rendering, a rendering engine basically. And so it's like, well, why don't we combine these things together and try and do some cool stuff? And the journey along the way is really fun.
We did that walk cycle through Unreal.
Yeah, we did the 1 hour walk cycle, right? Was it 1 hour, 3 hours or whatever? Yeah.
We did a lo-fi walk cycle, loop walks through a city with fog and everything. We'll leave the link down below,
But it's been fun because all these things have kind of been leading us to actually make it a game. And obviously, game design is very complex. But the cool thing is, first off, Epic Games making Unreal Engine 4 for free is a huge thing. Licensing a game engine used to be a huge thing. Or if you were even crazier, in the earlier days, you had to create your own game engine, which is like, you spend the majority of your time doing. Then they've bought Quixel and their Megascans library. They make new content available. And they have this huge marketplace where people have made really, really great add-ons for Unreal Engine that add a lot of functionality without having to do it from scratch. So you want to get into games, this is a great time to do it. And we thought it's great content for the channel. It's something we'd be interested in doing anyway, which is really our kind of motto for this channel. It's like things we would enjoy talking about anyway, we get to share. Yeah. And then also it's for our sister site, Johnny How To, we have content for that as well. So it's a fun thing. If you want to dig into the nitty gritty how-to, you can go to that channel. But if you want to get just like a higher level fun process and our thoughts and our development, things like that, and our struggles along the way, we get to do it here.
I have to say, there's one thing I learned when I was, being in the industry and stuff like that. Time is money, right? And I have bought like plugins and things in the past so I can speed up my workflow, because stuff I can make, but it would take me hours to make, or I could just invest a little bit of money, which saves me tons of time so I can get into it. And I feel like Unreal is a good balance of that, especially because we both know 3D. I mean, I obviously probably know a little bit more than John when it comes to 3D,
way more. Yeah.
When it comes to Maya and certain stuff like that. But like Unreal, there's so much there for us to like get us started. And like, and one of my best way of learning sometimes is taking a product, breaking it, and then putting it back together again. You know what I mean? So like, that's one of my favorite ways to learn. I feel like Unreal, by buying plugins and assets and stuff like that, it's like a way to learn and it's cheaper than an education learning how to do games.
Yes, way cheaper. Yeah. But yeah, so one of the great ways to try and learn something is you take, like, say it's a shader or a material for Unreal or whatever, Maya or whatever, you break that down, you open it up and like, okay, how do they put the pieces together? You kind of have to do almost detective work. It's kind of like reverse engineering, but you can get a great grasp on things by doing that. And the cool thing is a lot of people, they'll comment or lay out their work in a very logical sense because they know there's going to be other eyes on it in the future, so you can actually see very easily what it is they're actually doing there. So it's really cool
John,
stuff.
What kind of game are we going to be making here, buddy?
Really, it started with like, hey, expert Kyle and Nick and John, like, what would we have fun playing together? And I think we had played the old, the more recent, I think 2014 Gauntlet.
And
then we liked those.
Or what was
Magica. Magica 1 and 2. Just those top-down twin stick shooter type games where you're just in there with some friends, just having fun. It's not crazy RPG or anything like that. Maybe there's some elements of that, but it's just get in there having fun and, getting to, have fun with your friends.
we have some rough ideas. We have some big ideas too, which we know we're not going to hit in this first game.
Yeah.
So we're trying to break it down, and we have a small idea. We don't know. We're probably not going to talk about our idea right now. We're going to keep it under wraps. But what's cool is we're building assets for it. You know what I mean? And like we're trying to be like, what environment would this be in, and what options do they have on the game, on the store, on the Epic Store and stuff. So it's like it's kind of like there's a free monthly download, or there's different assets that are free once a month on, and that's almost like determining what we're doing with the game every month. We're like, oh, maybe we can add that. Oh, maybe we can do that. But we're trying to just get a basic system, so at least 2 to 4 players, we're hoping will be in the game, and we're just coming up with like the wackiest, funniest thing we can think of that will just make us laugh. And we're not going to complicate it where it's like this intense like shooter or driving game where it's like too hard to beat. I think it's more just going to be a fun, easy game to play.
And that's the big thing is when you start out with stuff, whether it's, compositing, visual effects, game development, which obviously we're new to, or making videos in general, it's like you want to make this epic thing your first time out. And we know that we're not going to be able to make this great, perfect game the first time. Let's start at basic. We don't need it to be ultra realistic. We're just going for kind of fun. And so what we settled on, at least to start off with, we knew we wanted to do a twin stick shooter after talking to expert Kyle and Nathan and everything like that. So we got a twin stick shooter starter kit, and we're going to modify that. We're going to use the core game mechanics. It's already network replicated, meaning that if 4 different people are playing on different ends, everything's going to sync up. And then from there, we've kind of gone with, okay, what assets do we have access to? And again, the Quixel Megascans library that Epic now owns has all kinds of assets from everything you think of, whether it's, medieval or Japan or snowy terrain or whatever you can think of, it's there. And so we're going to be using those assets. The first Johnny How-To video actually kind of covered, okay, we're using Quixel Megascans library assets, and then we're using a procedural level generator to help create the terrains and populate those things in the terrain. And so from there, we're just kind of continuing on this road. It's like, okay, we're not going to finesse all this right now, but we know the tools are there. We know basically how to use them. What do we want to go from there? So the basic idea is we probably want to have about 3 levels in this first one. We have an idea on it, like a rough progression of the environments we're going to go through.
I would love to throw it out there for you guys to, if any of you guys ever try to make a game through Unreal, or if you guys ever dreamed of making a game, or, if you guys ever thought about it, or if you use other programs to make games, you know what I mean? Like my first game I ever made was the Flash. It was a Flash game, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different options for different games, and it doesn't have to always be the highest graphics and stuff. Like one thing I always say about like Nintendo or any of the classic games, like it doesn't have to be that best graphics. As long as it's a great game to play and it's fun to play, it's going to be a good game. Like Minecraft is not the highest graphics, but look how popular of a game it is. You know what I mean? And it's the mechanics within the game that make it fun or whatever. So like, let us know down below, your favorite game. If you guys ever played a video game before, and if you ever would want to make a game, I would love to start a conversation on this channel about games and stuff. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. But you know what? I'll give you a hint. We're not going to say the whole story, but it's going to take place in a snowy environment.
Oh, tell me more, Nicholas. Tell me more.
We're learning how to leave footprints in snow. Maybe those clues would lead to something, Sherlock. Come on, Watson.
But the fun thing is we kind of get to go on this journey. We've talked about this a number of times in the past, and we've both we both have different backgrounds. Nick's more of a traditional animator, artist, things like that. I'm more on middle ground of technical and artistic as far as compositing and things like that. And so we combined, we have some fun skill sets, but we wanted to bring it into actually creating something. And it's probably not going to be smooth in certain spots, but it seems like this is a great time to get into this type of thing. And hopefully something that will inspire you guys as well. And you'll be able to laugh along with us when we do good stuff and
cry
when we don't do stuff either.
Fails with us.
Yeah.
But also wanted to say too, if you guys are into 3D stuff, we do reviews on like the Pixar movies, which is fully 3D. We've done Unreal breakdowns with the new Unreal 5 engine. We talked about the Mandalorian and the Stagecraft using Unreal. We played some fun remakes of a 64 Zelda game in Unreal, which was so cool. We played the Ocarina of Time Zelda game in Unreal. Like we're kind of dedicated to Unreal right now. We really like Unreal, and
without meaning to, yeah.
But I mean, it's also because it's free. I know Unity's good, and I hear a lot of good praise about Unity and stuff. But John was already in Epic Games or Unreal, so I kind of just gravitated that way because he was already in it and he had assets and stuff. So I was like, all right, man, let's do it. And that's when I started to learn. And YouTube is a great resource too for questions. Like you have John's channel who's going through it, but then there's a lot of other great channels out there with tutorials and stuff. Like now's the time if you ever wanted to make a movie, if you ever wanted to do your own TV show, build a game. Now's the time. We're like in the golden age of knowledge. Like it's at your fingertips with Google. There's so much free information and classes out there on the internet. I mean, if there's ever a time to do something yourself, it's now, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a really cool time. You couldn't have done this even when I was in graduate school. Like YouTube and all the content you have in there just wasn't around. Even the idea of a podcast, like what podcast? What's that? Like that's weird. But now you don't have to pay a huge amount of money to go to college. Obviously, it's nice to be able to have that in-person thing, but we're in an age where like you can learn stuff without having to go back to school or go to school in general.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. And if you're still here, that's awesome. You made it this far in the video. And we'll see you next time on AsArt.